play it on repeat. Cash 100 milli check, I get paid just to breathe. Kill it 24/7, cause I slay in my sleep. Flames pipe down when I enter in the convo. What up, the party?
Security on.
So there's only 3 gotta come out.
Well, look though, this is the thing though, sir. This, me and him, we don't know if I'm the father or he the father, so we both gotta go. They been holding down. We ain't gonna bother nobody, please, sir. We ain't trying to go.
It's just nervous complaining.
It's her complaining. It's not a problem, so I understand what's the problem. They're over here being quiet. What's the problem?
We're not even pushing it. We have.
You have the problem. I don't have a problem. What's the problem?
Okay. The rule
What's the
is
problem?
we have 4
I don't
people.
care what
That's
the
the
rule
problem.
is.
Bitch,
What's the
shut the
problem?
fuck up. Bitch, just shut up,
You don't
bitch.
care what the rule is.
Okay, well, I'm not
She's not even pushing it. So that's correct. We're not pushing it.
Exactly, so why?
So once you start pushing, we'll leave.
Because I'm black?
Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
No, ain't nobody going
Calm
nowhere.
down.
Stop, Shaquila. Are you trying to figure out if that baby looks like me or him?
There you go, folks. That is the actual official episode of the House of Paternity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, being occurring literally in the delivery room, like pre-birth and shit. 4 different baby daddies being flushed out, right? At the same time. Gotta love it. That's I guess that's the what do you call it? The Jerry Springer or episode of like of that day's hospital. But anyway, folks, we are not completely a full team yet. We're waiting on William, the host of the Geek Gauntlet podcast, a good friend of the program, to come on. But this is the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast. Of course, this is our Sunday edition. Although most of you that catch this will catch it on YouTube as a regular, established video. This is a live discussion themed show that we do on multiple platforms. One of those ones being Rumble, which we're very glad to be on and very thankful to Rumble for supporting us and whatnot and being crazy enough to even give us free access to live streaming on there. I mean, obviously, they didn't know who we were at first, you know what I mean? And didn't know what they were getting to. So we'll see how long that free shit lasts on there, But once they start catching some of our shows. But as usual, this is it's actually an early edition, a live stream edition. We're after 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. And I've got the same Sunday cast back with me for our House of the Dragon episode 2 review and breakdown. I've got going first, because she's the veteran here on the team, guest wise. Renee, Loki's mom, my good friend, and fellow compatriot in the use of vulgar sexual scatological humor from time to time. Also, nice assistant. Nice to be my assistant in that area from time to time.
Oh, okay.
Is a
I
member.
taught you all my tricks.
There you go. Yeah, I think I'm actually corrupting Renee over time. To tell you the truth, I'm bringing out the raunchy side of her. Which, hey, you know what, Renee, you wouldn't be the first woman that I did that with, so it's okay.
Oh,
okay. But Renee's here to do episode 2 review with us and whatnot and everything. She comes from the Podcast of Champions, Sakar.freeforms.net, our good friends over there, of which there are many, and all wonderful people. And I just saw that they did their Lord of the Rings episode 1 and 2 review, I guess today or something, because I saw it on YouTube and it had only been up for like 3 hours, so good for them.
Okay.
And Renee, thank you for being back and joining us again on Sunday and whatnot. And are you looking forward to reviewing episode 2?
Well, yeah, I'm here.
Good. Hey, there you go.
I have an opinion. Let's put it that way.
Good. What a surprise. We got Bobby P back. Bobby is becoming Bobby. I'm basically I'm very cognizant of trying not to overdo it with like new guests and whatnot and everything. But since I met Bobby, I've been like just straight throwing all kinds of shit at him, like trying to get him like every other day and everything and whatnot. Poor guy.
And I've been jumping on whenever I can. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't been that bad. Like I'm overdoing it a little bit, but no, he's been Bobby actually did his first actual MCU Bleeding Edge, Marvel show the other night and whatnot. We did a She-Hulk episode 3 review, and it went well. I thought whatnot, he did a great job. Here doing his second round with this squad to review an episode, review and break down episode 2 of the House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel. And he is also, I guess you could say, the veteran or like the top dog when it comes to the knowledge as far as the Game of Thrones lore, the House of the Dragon lore, and all that. He's a little bit more put more time in, and whatnot. And so we look to him as sort of like the backbone here of these shows. I'm not to put any pressure on you or anything, Bobby, but are you feeling I guess like you're starting to become more experienced coming on here?
Yeah. It's I'm starting to settle in a little bit better. I'll probably get better as we go on, but yeah, it's starting to feel a little more natural now.
Hey, you know what? If you want to buck the trends and like not be, try to copy everybody else, you could actually try to devolve yourself as you guess, like and get worse over time. Personally, you know what I mean? Like just make an effort to be like worse every episode. Yeah, why not?
A complete shit show.
Yeah, I mean we're the Bleeding Edge anyway. We like to be unique, so why not be unique in that way? Like, hey, instead of evolving as a guest, I'm actually getting worse. Yeah, on purpose. As like a sociological study or something. You know what I mean?
At some point, you'll just be a zombie dripping saliva from your mouth.
Yeah.
Dude.
I'll just kind of mow it down there, and that'll be my input.
I'm very fair and reasonable when it comes to stuff. I'm not afraid to like understand my strengths and weaknesses, and when it boils down to it, if I've got an asset like Renee in certain situations, or like with Bob here in this situation, it's just a timing thing where I happen to meet Bob, and it turns out that when it boils down to it, he knows more about this shit than I do. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, he may be new to the game here, but I'm not afraid to lean on him. You know what I mean? Just because from a logical standpoint, he can probably answer certain questions and whatnot, or explain certain questions or articulate them better than I can. And, at the end of the day, that's what I care about, is things being well done and truthful and informative, but like factual, so at that point, if anything, I'm not trying to overdo it with Bob. I'm just taking advantage of the resource that's been put in place. But as usual, William, do you enjoy the awkward silence moment of like coming on to a show that's already been started and whatnot, with the conversations already happening? Is it enjoyable for you to have that like moment, or
gives you a second to get yourself together?
Okay. You should do your own like unique special shit that you do whenever you do one of those like pop on late deals where you like do like a certain hand signal or something, or
I'm here.
Like do a dance or some shit. I don't know.
We're gonna do a Hawk after the show, William. We're gonna do a Hawkeye review.
Oh, I'm out.
That's right.
I'm
yeah,
out.
we're gonna.
I'm out.
We've
I ain't
already
staying around for none of that. I'm
Actually,
gone.
we're gonna do it now, and then we're gonna do House
Oh
of
Lord,
Dragon.
let me hang up real quick.
Renee and I and Bob discussed in the studio before the show that we were going to follow the show up with a segment re-reviewing the Hawkeye series.
No, sir. I'm out on that. I'm out. Nope.
You've already paid your dues.
I paid my dues. I'm done. But somebody told me, and I think I told you guys before, if they would made it less on Hawkeye and more of a Kate Bishop story, I could have got down with that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't want to
That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
All I can say is I'll say this, William. I thought that they did a pretty good job of equaling things out in that area. I did. I thought that they gave Kate Bishop plenty of adequate screen time and whatnot.
Right. They did.
Plenty of so,
just the story itself. If it would have progressed more to Kate and less him, I think it would have been better.
Well, hey, you know what? Hindsight being 2020, I'm sure even Marvel Studios looks back at like the series and probably there's some things that they could point out that they wish that they would have done differently, right?
Yeah.
I wish they would have had a little more Kate Bishop and Yelena Belova.
Thank you.
If they had a show with just them two, I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I was on the podcast of the Champions one time. We were doing a review of Hawkeye, and it was the episode where they had Echo on for the first time, and like Echo's father dies and everything and whatnot in her arms.
Remember that.
And coming to me with the question about what happened, what my thoughts were on the scene, and I was like, well, for me, I feel like if the father was dying and everything and whatnot, and instead of touching her face, he reached out and grabbed her titties and played with them. Like that would have been more impactful for me. You know what I mean? Like a better direction for the episode. You know? Yeah, like why not? I mean, if you're dying, wouldn't you want to reach out and grab one more titty? Who cares if it's your daughter?
I believe that happened in an episode of Parks and Recreation.
I don't think so.
Some guy was having a heart attack.
Oh, you don't think that works out that way?
At your dying breath, you're not going to be thinking of your fucking your daughter.
Well, I'm just trying to connect this to the Targaryens, the House of the Dragon. You know what I mean? And their ancestral.
Oh yeah, well they're
like
into that. Yeah, they would do that. Targaryen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hawkeye would never do. Or Echo's dad would never do that to me.
That kind of bothers me though, because I just watched episode 2, and that kind of bothered me a little bit.
What's that, William?
Having a 13-year-old daughter, that kind of. My mom says I wouldn't have to bed you till I'm 14.
Well, that's how they did things back.
I know
about hey, Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin. That was 1950.
That was how it worked. I mean, according to George R. Martin, like when they would.
It just don't sit right. It just don't sit
no,
right.
No, I agree. Oh, I agree with you.
It was still kind of jarring.
That was
no, but you know what?
Yeah, it just don't sit right in my soul to see a little girl like that marry a dude that can get Social Security and be on AARP. It just don't make no sense, man.
Well, you know what? Let's be honest.
Well, she's set up. She never has to work again.
Facts.
Well, I want to point out really quick here that just to be clear, I know that the actor himself, Paddy Constantine, does without question look like he's like in his late 40s or mid 50s or whatever. But at this point in the actual story, where before when he married, when the age he's at when he marries Alison Hightower is 36 years old. So what you're seeing him right now in episode 2 is like 35 or 36 years old. That's Viserys at 35, 36. That is a fact. He marries Alison Hightower at 36 years old.
In the books, you're saying.
Yes, in the books. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it makes sense because I mean, he lives for after he marries her, she provides him multiple children. That takes time.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I think it's the Targaryen silver hair that just makes him look way older than 30.
Way older, yeah, because he's.
Yeah.
I think I just looked him up, and Paddy Considine's 48, so he's not.
Okay.
He's still got a lot of vibrant years in him. Put it that way.
Right.
No, but like that's how those things were worked out.
Yeah, that's how it worked back then. I understand that, but it still don't sit
young
right.
Girls like that,
it just don't sit right in my soul.
No, it doesn't.
Well, they're not. To their credit, they're not making that out like that's a good thing. You can see the distaste on. He does.
Yeah, you see the distaste on his face.
He doesn't want to do this.
Oh yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh,
He's not feeling it either. No. But I mean,
put a couple more years on her. 16. Hey, she's ready to go.
but when you read the Game of Thrones books, there are situations where they do flush out like an age of like when there's going to the soon to be wife, the young wife is going to be able to actually have sex. Like it's worked out in the beginning that like.
Well, I mean, really until recent years. I mean, being a teenager and having that large block of what we still consider immature years didn't exist. I mean, probably up until the 20th century, and certainly in still going on in other parts of. You don't have a childhood when you get up 13. Big enough, you go to work. You get, they marry you off. They arrange marriages. You don't in a lot of societies. You don't go out and date and stuff like that. So they're being, I think, true to how society has been for probably all of its existence. They've, once she's 13, 14 years old, that's a woman. She's ready to be married, and that's nobody thinks otherwise. Thinks that's wrong or anything.
I don't know. From what I can remember from having sex with 13 and 14-year-old girls when I was a little kid in the junior high and shit, whatnot, that shit did not feel the way that like women feel now when I'm an adult. There was a difference.
Yeah, but you didn't have a Social Security card yet, so
exactly.
No, I
didn't. You didn't have things coming in the mail from ARP for a free toaster, bruh.
No. And I'm not. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not exactly I don't ever have like any like remembrances or like any like form any thoughts of like my
And you
old-
certainly don't advocate anyone go out and have sex with 13-year-olds. So
Oh hell no! What are you
let's
kidding me? Come on
establish
now.
that right now.
Yeah, listen, I'm almost 40 years old here soon. I'll be 40 in November, and I'll tell you right now, I'm not like, look, I'm not gonna bullshit you. I don't go out and try to look for younger women. I don't. Like, I just meet the women I meet. And sometimes things go in a certain direction, and sometimes things go in other directions. There could be trends. Sometimes when I'm a single guy, I'll have a 6-month period where every chick I get together with just happens to be
Okay. Well, we're talking about ages. We're talking about the ages, Jeff. Anyway, let's progress on to the show.
But, I will say this. I will say this
awkward topic.
I will say this. This is the first time I've ever seen a show like this because I'm not a Game of Thrones fan.
I know.
And this
William,
takes,
you know what? Go ahead.
And this takes place like 200 years before Game of Thrones. But
Yes.
I will say, outside of what we just talked about, that being a little bit creepy, I am enjoying the series.
That's
from
awesome.
what I've seen.
That's
of
great
it.
to hear.
Yeah, I
You know
am
what,
enjoying
William?
the series.
That's awesome. It really is. I think it's if anything, hats off to William, right? Because again, just like Renee, at least I have some knowledge with Game of Thrones and whatnot, and have read some of the books and whatnot and everything, know a little bit about it. William and Renee coming in fresh. I like that dynamic. I think it's fun. I think it makes for an interesting vibe on these review shows to have that balance, that difference in the knowledge and background. And at the same time, though, William, hats off to you and Renee for even having the balls to even put yourself out there and talk about a series or whatever where you're being introduced to this whole universe from jump right now. That puts you in a tough spot. Some people would not be, some other creators would not have the balls to come on and do a show like this with a series that they're not familiar with the whole backstory. But you're here, and I love the fact that you enjoyed the episode and you're liking the series so far.
Yep, I am.
Do you think probably when this is all over, you'll end up going back and watching Game of Thrones?
Mm-hmm. For sure, because I'm curious now.
Yeah.
I'm curious now.
I don't know. Renee, what do you think? Do you think that you'll do that too, you think, by the time this is over?
After 2 episodes, not right now. I'll wait till I'll make a decision at the end of the series if I want to.
Well, I'm going to call it out right now.
Okay. And
I already told you this before. I think by the end of the season, I think things will really ramp up to where they're really going to build a lot of suspense going into season 2. There is going to be some serious conflicts coming up soon in the story. And I want to premise right now and put out there before I play trailers or whatever that episode 2 starts 1 full year after episode 1 occurs. So we've already got our first time jump in the series right now, and we should expect these all the time. We're going to have time jumps pretty consistently. So, realistically, Bob and I were talking about this earlier today. We're not even sure like how far they're going to go by the end of the first season, how far ahead.
Yeah, because I'm hearing conflicting reports. Like I've heard that about episode 5, which is like the halfway mark, they're supposed to jump ahead where Rhaenyra and Alicent will be completely different actresses. But then I also heard that this episode tonight, episode 3, will be jumping ahead 3 years. So they're going to have like various time jumps from what I'm hearing.
Yes, and that makes sense. Although at the same time, though, you don't want to overdo it too much because you want to save enough content and whatnot and enough story to be able to. I'm sure they're probably going to want this show to play for at least 4, 5, 6 seasons. I would think.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine.
If not more. I mean, honestly, folks, for those of you who know anything about this entire story, which my asshole self sent William a 37-minute long YouTube video explaining the entire details of this entire conflict, the House of the Dragon conflict. Honestly, William, I felt bad when I sent that to you because, that thing is so dry and boring to listen to. But it is informational. But that's how. Yeah.
But the thing about it that made it funny, the dude was like really into it. You can hear the emotion the dude had when he was reading it. Despite the fact it was just boring as all get out, you could actually hear tone inflection from the dude from that video. This went through that, then this, and then that, and that, and this. And it's like, bruh. You can't be that excited about.
I-
You can't be
I
that
think-
excited.
I'm sorry about that, Renee. You know what? I should have contacted you and sent you that same link and whatnot, so you could have
Be
had that. I
glad he
sent
didn't.
The podcast you're talking about.
Be
no,
glad
yeah, I
he
sent
didn't.
William a YouTube tutorial video that explains the entire conflict of the House of the Dragons from the beginning to the end, and it's like
No, that's
37
okay.
minutes
Yeah,
long.
that's okay.
Yeah. All right, very thick. It's very packed. But basically, so right off the bat, we got a 1 year jump, right? In the entire story, which you got to kind of take into consideration. Bearing in mind how the episode plays out, where things are at now that this time has passed. Now, I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one of the actual official trailers for the House of the Dragon, and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and play the teaser for episode 2, and we'll save the teaser for episode 3 at the end, and we can do, I guess, maybe some final, thoughts or ideas or whatever theories for episode 3. But let's get after it. Let's do it.
He's afoot. The dream. It was clearer than a memory. And I heard the sound of thundering hooves, splintering shields and ringing swords. And I placed my heir upon the Iron Throne. And all the dragons roared as one.
I consider the matter urgent. That of your succession.
Who else would have a claim?
The firstborn child.
Rhaenyra. No queen has ever sat the Iron Throne.
The king has an heir, Daemon Targaryen.
I will not be made to choose between my brother and my daughter.
Rhaenyra's succession will be challenged. Knives will come out.
You are the king. Your duty is to take a new wife.
I have decided to name a new heir. I'm your heir.
War is afoot.
Do you think the realm will ever accept me as their queen?
A woman would not inherit the Iron Throne, because that is the order of things.
When I'm queen, I will create a new order.
Your family has dragons. They are a power men should never have trifled with.
If Rhaenyra comes into power, she can cut off any challenge to her succession.
I am to inherit the Iron Throne. She will block my way.
Our hearts remain as one.
Oh, our hearts were never one. Have you never imagined yourself on the Iron Throne? Where is duty? Where is sacrifice? Now they see you as you are.
The road ahead is uncertain, but the end is clear. Aegon will be king. The road ahead is uncertain, but the end is clear.
Against whom?
Whomever may dare to challenge us. The threat of war looms. The gods have yet to make a man who lacks the patience for absolute power, Your Grace. The road ahead is uncertain, but the end is clear. Aegon will be king. He's the firstborn son of the king.
Okay, that's the third trailer. That's the episode 3 promo teaser or whatever, whatnot. I wanted to distinguish and make sure I knew what was what. that first one that I played was the episode 2 teaser trailer. That I'll save that last one for the end. But right off the bat, starting with you, William. What did you think? What did you think of the one Game of Thrones trailer? There's 2 of them. I only played the one. What did you think of the trailer? Did it do anything for you? Did it draw you in at all? Do you feel like they did a good job in any way? For like the novice fan or in the audience to like be able to have anything in there to kind of connect what was going on.
Yeah, I think it does a really good job of trying to get you enticed to watching it. And something that because the level of acting in these shows is a little bit different than what you've seen everywhere else, and that's the part of it that intrigues me because you see, they're so invested in the character that they're playing, and I just think it's amazing by how they do that, and that is what entices me in and want to see what's going to happen next. And the storyline, if you watch the first episode, the storyline has you hooked already, and you have to see it continue through. I don't know how I feel about the time jumps because we already had one from the first episode to now, but yeah, it's just badass, and I am enjoying it.
Yeah, and like I said in the private chat, the reason that is, William, that you're seeing that's the superb acting and whatnot and everything is because a lot of those are trained professional English, British actors. They all are pretty much. I mean, the entire Game of Thrones cast was almost entirely from the UK or Ireland or Scotland or whatever and whatnot, And let's be honest. I mean, I'm not trying to put down American actors and actresses, but when it comes to these kind of roles and this kind of dialogue, these kind of scripts, this kind of world, the UK actors and actresses, they just fit better in a way.
Right.
I mean, you get where I'm going with that, Bob?
Yeah. It's because it's kind of like European, like sort of English sort of speaking. So to have a bunch of people that have English accents and speak sort of like that old kind of medieval way, I guess, kind of makes sense. But yeah, the character development is probably one of my absolute favorite things about House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. Like, there are so many favorite characters from Game of Thrones that I can't wait to see who steps up as like a fan favorite in House of the Dragon. Like I think Daemon Targaryen is sort of already getting to that point because he's sort of like a character that sort of skirts the line between good and evil. It's kind of like an anti-hero type, and I can see him being a fan favorite definitely down the line.
Another thing that
go ahead, William.
Another thing that has me about this show is savage. If you go back to see the part where she was giving birth,
that was intense,
and they made that choice. Oh my goodness, this show is savage.
Yeah,
and not only that, but if you really pay attention to the dialogue, it's funny as crap because the burns, the slow burns they give each other in this show, if you really pay attention, it's just too funny.
What do you think, Renee? What do you, for you coming, out looking outside in, do you feel like that trailer at all gives you anything to work with that would connect you or make you want to go watch the House of the Dragon?
Well, just on the surface of it, just if I didn't know anything, hadn't already started watching the show, or wasn't encouraged to watch it and everything, but really probably not, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Just medieval kind of looking stuff never has appealed to me. Same way about that, like William does Hawkeye. Sometimes you have to watch it. Some other good stuff, and that's what I'm looking forward to, the good stuff, which are going to be dragons and magical stuff, and if they can't soup it up some way and make it more appealing, and that I'm looking at, I don't mean jumping ahead, but just looking at this second episode, check the dragon, that couple of dragon scenes out. you basically got a BBC historical drama, court drama, where there's
Right.
the king. Oh, we're going to do this king, and then we're going to marry this, and then the two, and we're the second sons, and we deserve to be kings, and blah blah. How many times have we heard that story before? Right within Marvel. I mean, they have that same trope going on with about Black Panther and also with the Thor storyline. So yeah, the trailers make me want to see the dragons and all the fun stuff. I mean, they kind of hit it on this episode a little bit. You know, I want to see more of the city. I want to see more of what the customs are in that era and that or that era or in that fantasy realm. And, you know, and how it just like we were talking about the marriage, about how they treated not just women but men, you know, boys too. They were expected to start becoming men at a certain age. You know how that plays out and things like that. So yeah, I'm hopefully the next couple episodes I think we'll get more into that storyline. I'm going to be honest up front. This episode 2 just really dropped the level of my interest way down. But I'm willing to keep going because you guys are going to encourage me. And that trailers encourage me.
Well, I'll tell you what, honestly, Renee, and I wouldn't gaslight you about it. I really think that based off of what I know about this story overall, you're going to see the dragons are going to become more and more integral and like have bigger parts and like become bigger pieces of like the series and the conflict as time's going to go on.
House of Dragon.
Yes, and
less house.
I mean,
and you know what? Go ahead, William.
I mean, when you get through before you can even get through the first 15 minutes, come this big ass dragon. I mean, that's hype there. That's hyped up right there, man. This big ass dragon come out of nowhere, and then you see the dragon again in the first episode, do the cremation, and it's like, and the quality that dragon looked really good. It wasn't like a case with She-Hulk, where I don't think the CGI is very good. But that dragon looked excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that overall, I mean, basically when they did Game of Thrones, they put a lot of work in and had to learn, you know, sort of how to make the dragon thing work. And they evolved it across the span of the seasons. It got better. You know, the digital part got better, the effects got better, the dragons look better.
Yep.
Now they had a chance to actually do it before, and they're going back into it. You got to figure that HBO's got some of the same people in the background handling the production and the shooting and whatnot, and some of the digital work and whatnot, and you know, all that. A lot of it's probably the same team, you know, whatever, same companies. At that point, if anything, I would anticipate that in the House of the Dragon, from a visual standpoint, I think that probably the dragons are going to look better and more fluid and more authentic, if anything, and in this series. And honestly, to bounce off of Renee and kind of connect to where Renee's thought process is at in terms of her strong desire to see more of the dragons, in episode 2, just in the small appearances that we get the dragons, it literally changes the entire dynamic and the energy of the episode. It does. Immediately. Like the minute that they become a part of the scene, it just totally shifts the entire dichotomy of what's going on because you're focused on the dragon.
Yeah, their presence is very strong and they're very intimidating in pretty much any scene they're in. Like even when it's just as simple as little girl riding her dragon, even that's intimidating at the beginning. But yeah, they loom large in every scene.
Sure, and and then from an intellectual standpoint, and from like it's just a yearning standpoint, a question of standpoint, it's interesting to wonder like how these dragons are, what they're like personally, like what are their emotions like, what do they like to handle, to work with one-on-one, what are the dynamics like with the dragon riders and the dragons, like, what are their relationships like? You know,
yeah, that's the thing that intrigued me was seeing the dragon keepers.
Yes.
Because by the time the Game of Thrones was on, those guys were pretty much gone because all the dragons were gone. So we never really got to see like the people who sort of tend to the dragons. Like I thought that was an interesting part of it too. And the slow cooker that they put the eggs in.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and yeah, the almost like incubation deal or whatever, whatnot that they have going on. But no, I felt like overall, obviously the dragons are going to be big components of the series. But as far as episode 2 goes, for me, and I guess I'll just go around and ask right now. Renee and Bob talked earlier tonight in the studio about the show, about the fact that not a lot really does go on compared to episode 1. It is sort of like a more simple, more basic kind of premised episode. But essentially, I guess what I would ask you guys would be if there was anything that did stand out to you that you found intriguing or like you enjoyed or stood out to you, whatnot, and everything, any character or scene. If there was a scene that they thought sucked or was a joke, or like or whatever, like if you got anything like that to bring to the table, Renee, regardless of like your feelings on the episode overall, did you find any aspect of it intriguing or interesting?
Well, we found out a little bit more about the family and I wasn't aware of this, or maybe I missed it in the first episode, that the older lady with the long white hair, that's Princess Reyes or something like that.
Rhaenys.
Rhaenys, and
Yeah.
she's the king's cousin.
Yeah.
And she would have been the queen had he not got, she was the heir. In other words, she was the daughter of the king, and he was the nephew of the king.
Right.
So
yeah.
she got
Her claim was actually stronger.
Right. So I think I'd like to. She intrigued me some. I mean, I'd like to see more from her, and I'm pretty sure she's probably going to be a major player. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, no, there wasn't. As I've already stated, I mean, there really wasn't anything that stood out. I mean, even when we got to see the dragons, it was just it was not a battle or anything. It was just a showdown.
Yeah.
And it basically went back to court entry talk and things like that. And it was also called, what was the series called? The name of the episode? It was
hold on, good question.
It's The Rogue Prince. Which is of course referring to Damien, and I don't think Damien even really shows up until halfway through the show.
Right.
And then it's just him, being confrontational and just strutting around and talking and, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying not to be too down on it, because I know you guys probably liked the episode better than I did, but yeah, I'll have to be honest and say, no, there was really nothing that stood out special to me. Sadly.
Okay, that's fine. And what do you think, William?
Nothing special stood out. I think the story itself and how it's being played stands out to me more than anything. When he said that you have to leave because you didn't stand by my side when my wife died, that gave you that conflict that you needed to watch more. And that's what sort of kind of got me hooked, because I want to see what happens with that. And now you have his daughter being the heir against her uncle is another thing that I want to see how that plays out too. Somebody gonna die. I don't know who it's gonna be, but somebody gonna die, and I want to see who it's gonna be, because this is something where you can't coexist type of deal. Somebody gonna die, and I want to see who's the one that's gonna die. Because you also remember the episode when they went to go get the egg that he stole. He said that you have to leave this place, bro. You kicked me out of where I was. I had to come here. I built this up, and now you kicking me out from here? Come on, man. So I gotta see how this plays out. I got to. I'm too invested now. I gotta see how this plays out. I gotta see.
And we did. I want to just point out, I didn't think about it, but during that trailer we watched, you do see the two different versions, the two different actresses playing the two different time periods of Rhaenyra. You do.
Mhm.
You see the like the, I guess probably maybe mid to late 20s Rhaenyra versus like the Rhaenyra we know so far, which is like, you know, the I guess 12 or 13-year-old Rhaenyra.
Right.
But for you, what do you think, Bobby? Did you have any? Were there any highlights in the episode? Did you kind of agree with Renee and William that it was a little flat, or?
Well, the one highlight for me, just going back to like Game of Thrones, is how Rhaenyra was. She was really pulling some Daenerys Targaryen moves, where she kind of flew in to save the day on her dragon, just like Daenerys would do in various episodes of Game of Thrones, and she had that calm confidence about her, in like squashing that whole controversy with the egg and everything, and kind of did it with no bloodshed. I thought she really stepped up, and that was like, that reminded me a lot of Daenerys in the way she was acting. Like you can see that they were related at some point. Like you can see where Daenerys got that because her whole family was like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I think that it's important to point out that you know, essentially, she is strong-willed, and now in this circumstance, I feel that this is actually a great moment where it really displays the fact that even at her young age, her female sensibilities and logic versus the men's ends up being the best move. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
she tries to tell
even during the council meeting when she's like telling the king, "Hey, we've got dragon riders, we can ride in." And Corlys is like, "Well, the princess has a plan."
Yeah,
she seems like almost like a better leader than Viserys already.
Yes, that's a good point. Yes, even that's a really great point, and that really, I think, if anything, Renee, William, that really, if anything, is like sort of a slight, very, very subtle indication of, again, the passiveness, right, and the desire to constantly maintain peace among the kingdoms by Viserys. In that it was his own daughter that from jump was like, "We have dragons. Why don't we just friggin' attack
We'll
them?"
just use them.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll go. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, didn't she say, "I'll go"? You know, like, I mean, you know, and Bobby and I talked about this earlier today, and I thought about it, and like now I know that I'm aware of the succession of the different Targaryen kings. Before Viserys, you did have the king that Aegon that was known for providing the longest tenured period of the Targaryen rule of the Iron Throne. There was the most peaceful, prosperous period in the entire history of Targaryen rule, and it was like 55 years long. Right. So he's coming off of that. Viserys is coming off of that, right? In a way,
got big shoes to fill.
Yes, and he wants to maintain that legacy,
right?
Right? Like he really deeply cares about not having conflict. He does not want to start wars.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, any of you that know anything about Game of Thrones and this kind of like world, you know, how things are at that point back then, it's actually not such a good idea to start wars sometimes because shit can get pretty deep pretty quickly. There's a lot of houses, there's a lot of kingdoms.
Right.
They've all got their own armies. But I'll tell you, what did you think, Renee? I mean, I know you haven't gotten to know Rhaenyra that well yet. But do you think that there's anything about, I mean, I honestly think that the actress that's playing her younger version does a great job so far.
Oh yeah. She's very good. Very good.
Yes. She is Eve Best, I believe. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. Let's see. She is Emma Darcy. No, I'm tripping. Millie Alcock is the teenage Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen. Emma Darcy plays the adult one, the older one that you see in the trailer. I think that she's done a great job playing the younger version of Rhaenyra. But I mean, what do you think, Renee? Like, she's obviously been a clear focal point of these episodes so far. You know what I'm saying? And what did you think of, if anything, maybe like, did you learn anything new about her in episode 2? Did you see any progression?
Yeah, she's the best part. I mean, really the for watching for me. I mean, her character development, and I just looked up the actress real quick, Millie Alcock. She's 22, so
wow.
Wow, really?
Yes, I don't know why they're not just letting her play the part all the way through. But yeah, that's cool. Sort of amazing. Anyway, yeah, I mean, her character is really good. I mean, this part I'm enjoying it, watching her. And you're right, she's very methodical, logical. She uses reason. She's not, rushing in with emotions and rushing in with, her ego, and this has to be done, and how dare he, and blah blah blah. But she's very insulted that and she's been close to Damon, but that Damon would take the egg that was meant for her dead brother. So that was a huge insult. That egg, was not his to take, and she went to get it, and she was going to get it, and she got it, and she did it. She was successful, and even though her father just laid down the law to her about lying to him and disobeying and everything, disobeying the king. Then you could tell he's really proud, that he's really pleased that he's with what he sees in her, and he says, I guess he sees some of his wife in her, and that same calmness that she brought to him and helped him rule his kingdom, and that the loss he's feeling now. And so yeah, that part, I think that family dynamic, the love, I think they've been, the father and daughter have been distant, and he's regretting that now, and so in his own way, I think he's trying to show his love towards her, and really can't. It's still very hands off, and had very, very formal, and all these things that they have to abide by, as in their customs.
Yeah, like even when they met up to talk, it took them like 2 times talking to really open up. Like the first time they didn't really open up to each other. It wasn't until like the second time that they really started opening up to each other.
Yeah, right. And this was after she sort of proved her mettle,
right,
to him, and that. Yeah. So yeah. So he sees that she's
and she lost her mom, Renee. She lost her mom also, Renee. I mean, we had a 1-year time skip.
We're getting some bad feedback here.
I know. I got a bad echo. I don't know where that came from.
I think it might be you, Jeff.
Hold on. Let me check my audio settings really quick.
Mute your audio, Jeff.
Hello.
Oh, hey.
All
right. You go, William.
No, you're all echoing.
Yeah, everybody's doing it.
What I would suggest would be, Bobby, really quick, drop off and drop back on. And see if that changes anything. Testing. That's it. Damn.
How about you, William?
I knew it. Hey, when you use StreamYard for a long time, right, William? You start to figure that stuff out pretty quick, right?
You do.
You could usually kind of tell what's going on, like what end it's going on. But no, I'll tell you that realistically, I feel like if anything, as far as Ramirez goes, or at least as far as the actress goes, that young actress being 22 years old and legitimately looking like she's 13 in real life, without question, she definitely has a promising career as a child porn star.
Oh, please, Jeff. Oh, God. No, Jeff. No, not even.
Oh man, what a spot to step in on.
Yeah, I mean, if she needs to make some money, I mean, there's definitely that's
not even pretend, Jeff. Let's not even pretend child porn's not good. So I'm gonna put my foot down. I'm gonna put my foot down on this one.
What the hell did I watch?
she would lock she would get any role available in that field.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now.
No.
But anyway,
You
good.
don't want to get your kicked off the air. So.
Oh, I won't. YouTube likes me so far, anyways.
But
Bobby, we knocked out the echo. I had a feeling it was coming on your end, and I'm glad that you jumped off and came back on. But so basically, Bobby, kind of like wrapping up with you, sort of, I guess, what would you say would be, if anything, possibly maybe, let me rephrase. Beyond Rhaenyra, what did you think of the entire? And I'm going to go over to William and Renee on this too. The scene that Renee already flushed on and William already touched on too, where and you already talked about, where Rhaenyra actually takes her dragon. Right. What is it, Cyrax? And actually, yes,
Cyrax
and Cyrax, yep, and actually, defuses the conflict at Dragonstone with Daemon and his like farce, like marriage that he's going to have and whatnot and everything. And of course, Caraxes is there too. Right. Daemon's dragon, and he's very, very intimidating as well. Very nasty.
Because he looked twice as big as Rhaenyra's dragon.
Yes, he's big. He is very big. I think he's either the second or the third biggest dragon of what they have left of dragons. So that whole scene, though, like even when the night went up and like went back and forth with Daemon, right, and they had that dialogue and they drew swords at one point, right? After Crassies came out, what did Did you feel like that was the best scene of the show? What did you take out of it?
Yeah, I think it was. It had like the most, well, maybe not as much impact as when Viserys announced who he was going to marry, but it did have a pretty good impact because the egg that was stolen, it's going to have a pretty important part in the story later on. I mean, I won't give it away, but it's a pretty big part, and just that whole scene kind of sets up that whole thing. And like looking when that happens and looking back on this scene, it'll have a little more of an impact as well. But I thought that was the best scene of the episode without a doubt, though.
William, what were your thoughts on that whole scene?
Well, when the two dragons came together in episode 2?
Yes, the whole thing. Like even when it starts off, when you see the knight from the Kingsguard lead the force over to Dragonstone. Essentially, yeah, go ahead.
First of all, the scene was beautiful. They were outside on the open bridge, so the scene itself was beautiful. Then she sort of kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting to see her do the dragon ride onto the bridge. I wasn't expecting her to see. I wasn't expecting a confrontation. I thought she was going to end up staying back in the palace, but I'm glad she didn't because you got that confrontation. So I thought it was a great scene because again, that confrontation is there and that was kind of thick. And it's like you saw some investment there. And it was great. It was, and to see the two dragons like that, yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed that too. Why I was watching it, all I could think about was like what the two dragons must think of each other. Like looking at each other and whatnot, you know what I mean? Like how they must feel about being that close to each other, Yeah.
Yeah.
But Renee, I don't mean to go backwards with you, but I mean overall, if you want to kind of maybe just in your own way, flush out what you took out of that whole span. Because I felt like a lot went on even before the dragons. Like I liked the dialogue between the knight and Daemon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was it was the key scene in the whole episode. They're confronting, Damien's doing this rebellious act and threatening to marry his prostitute girlfriend and start having some male heirs with as many male heirs as he needs. I guess like you maybe only want one male heir. Consider now they want to kill each other for the thrones. But yeah, it was an important scene, and of course that huge. Oh my gosh, that huge dragon. What's his name? Kyrax, or they have these funny names, and then she comes swooping in with her, and she's right because he's ready to blast them. They know that dragon's just going to fry them all in the next 10 seconds, and here she comes. And of course, the only person he's not going to kill in that situation is going to be his cousin, not only because of her position, but also his if he has any love for her. I mean that would prevent him from doing anything right then. So yeah, it was a key scene, and it really does establish her position, her power over him, her power over Damien. So I think that was an important establishment. Yeah. So yeah, the whole scene was well done. I'm not saying this episode was bad or anything like that. I'm just saying I want something more than just an average historical drama type set in medieval days.
Well,
basically.
And now this is one of the interesting aspects of this whole deal, where it's, at least with with myself to some extent, and then with Bobby, him and I have both actually read and listened and heard about this entire conflict from detail to detail, the different generations of the characters, the whole thing, how it all plays out, how it ends, all of it. At that point, we already know, we're predisposed to the knowledge that there will be a semi-romantic relationship between Princess Rhaenyra and Daemon, right? You can already kind of see the seeds of it right now, even with the teenage version of her. She may not be, their relationship right now, their bond, maybe more familial or personal, or on a friendship level or something, but it is unique. The way that they talk to each other, they have their own unique bond. I don't know that I think she's too young for it to be sexual or romantic at this point. But at the same time, what do you guys make, or what do you think of the fact that they are displaying this relationship the way that they have? And you got to take into consideration, right, William, that if she didn't have this special bond with Daemon to begin with, and know that she could talk him down, and know that she'd be effectively able to talk to him and work with him, and that he would bend to her. You know what I'm saying? Do you think that she would have actually had the balls to go there like that?
I don't think so.
Because she has a reason why she knows that she can kind of boss him around a little bit.
Yeah. She knows she can. She knows she has some kind of power there, but then what woman don't have a power over the dude? That's just in life in general.
It is.
That's life in general.
No, it is. And if anything, I think that in a way it maybe foreshadows or displays the type of roles or dynamic you're going to see with the more older version of Rhaenyra, right?
Versus this young version.
Because
and that was a good catch by the way.
And you know what? That's interesting. The thing about the weird thing about Daemon is, it's interesting with him, with his relationship with Rhaenyra is that Daemon is a fucking scoundrel. He's not afraid to bang kids. He don't care. You know what I'm saying? Any other 13-year-old, he wouldn't even. I don't think he would even flinch. But with her, he does not see her that way. She's not a sexual object to him. You can tell.
Yeah. You can tell he cares more for her in a father-daughter type of way.
And she almost, and I think it foreshadows the fact that she does have that type of grip on him already.
Well,
you know what I mean?
He's known her since she was a baby. I mean, he's probably held her and played with her as a little child. So, he's not going to think, he's going to think of terms as a brother to this child. So, he's not going to have that type of sexual interest yet. Maybe later on, as they become adults, or she becomes an adult, he's already adult. That, like you say, then that dynamic can change. But and like I say, and that's not all that weird when you consider that that's how royalty, even today, practices. They all marry their cousins and whatnot. So, which we talked about last week, But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. He's not. He loves her right now as a brother, and as a, as a special friend, and like that, and that's the power she has over him. I think maybe if it was a sexual relation or a sexual dynamic going on, maybe she wouldn't have the power over him, the same power. It would have to be something else. Well, it would have to be done in a different way.
Well, what did you think, Bob? What did you think of the fact that like not only the Dragon Keepers, but the fact that she specifically spoke to Damon in High Valyrian?
Yeah, I love when they speak in High Valyrian because it's not really done as much, and I think it was only done a few times in Game of Thrones. But I think that's cool when they speak Valyrian. It's like it's almost like they're speaking Latin.
There is, and just Renee, are you aware of we touched on this in the last episode review, but are you aware that when we talk about Old Valyria, that's the language of the former country that the Targaryens came from, right? Where dragons come from, where they were first found. That unfortunately was befallen by a cataclysmic event, right? Like a volcanic eruption that essentially destroyed the entire capital city and like all of Valyria. So Old Valyria is essentially the language, right, of the Dragon Lords, of like the old Valyrian, hold and whatnot and everything, which at one point in this universe was considered essentially the not like the capital or the shining beacon light of the entire known world, essentially, right? The most powerful.
Yeah, that's why Viserys has the model of the city in his room.
Yes. I mean, when you look at the lore and you actually flush out, the details and whatnot, and look at the history, Old Valyria actually was evolved to some degree to like in some levels in terms of how they built things, in terms of like the materials they use for their roads and whatnot and everything. Their steel, Valyrian steel, which is of course forged with dragonfire. There were certain aspects that came out of Valyria that no one else can replicate in any other, like that they're gone. I mean, there's no ability to be able to reproduce these things. In the Game of Thrones series, some of the big houses have like one Valyrian steel sword that they pass down from generation to generation, and the Valyrian steel swords only come from Valyria, and they're literally smelt, I believe, like with dragon fire. That's how they're forged. And so at that point, in this realm, in this time period, it's High Valyrian is rare, and contained to a small circle of people. By the time you get like Game of Thrones, 200 years later or 300 years later, Old Valyria is like gone. Like nobody really speaks it, essentially, right, Bob?
Yeah, it's pretty much only spoken in the other country, known as Essos.
Essos.
There really isn't any, other than the Targaryens. There aren't any Valyrian-speaking people in Westeros, so it's very rare to hear.
Now, Renee, did you feel like could you tell just from Damon's freaking like plucky, shitty type of personality that he had? Like, he has it in general, but like he had during that scene and whatnot and everything, where he was kind of almost like taking everything half seriously, that his whole deal was all a joke, like he was just fucking around.
You talking about with the dragon?
Well, no, his whole like the woman that he had with him did not even know that she was getting married to him.
Oh yeah,
Like
right. That was a ploy. He was throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But he was wanting a confrontation. That's what he was wanting them to come there so that they could start this confrontation. He wants the throne, and he's gonna, if it means starting a war. Well, he's throwing up all these, he's put all this stuff out there, say to the countryside or whatever, let them, hear. Oh, I should be the heir. I'm our king does not have a male heir, therefore I should be the rightly named heir. So that's what he's shooting for. And so, yeah, all this is a subterfuge and whatnot. But no, he actually did want to, if it come down to starting a war on that bridge, that's what he was going to do. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, so it wasn't, but that part wasn't a joke. I mean, he wasn't fooling around with anybody. But yeah, throwing that his girlfriend up as, she thought she was going to get married and be the queen, and all he was doing was just, he's just using her, and she's realized that at this point. She's probably knew that she was being used, but now she knows for real she's just another piece of meat to him. Yeah, he's a pretty, but yeah, going back to talking about the language thing, I think they're actually speaking kind of like Welsh or one of the Celtic. They've sort of taken it maybe and chopped it up a little bit, but it's a very unfamiliar to our ears, even though it's still spoken in the British Isles. That and Gaelic and other dialects. So that's sort of that dynamic going on when you have this. Although it's sort of reversed, but you had in Great Britain, you had the Anglo-Saxon people came over after the Romans really began to pull out, and all the people basically that were on the Great British Isles were Celts and spoke Celtic languages. Then here comes these Anglo-Saxons, and then they begin to dominate and push back and whatever, and then over time everybody starts speaking English. But the people in the countryside and the people even in maybe the royal courts of the Celtic houses in Ireland and whatnot, they continued to speak Gaelic and whatnot between themselves. And it was a way of having like a language that these upstart Anglo-Saxons with their, and waving their swords or whatever at us or whatever they were doing, that they're not going to understand that language. So yeah, I mean, that was an interesting aspect of it that I really enjoy. And like I said, I like those types of themes within these stories, and I'm hoping I get to see a little bit. And what you guys have taught and the things that y'all already know about it, I think I'm going to get to see some more of that.
Well, yeah, I do think that honestly, Renee, if anything, and this is why I need to try to provide you with a little bit more background information to work with. I think if anything, you probably would become more intrigued and more interested in this whole universe if you did know a little bit more about the lore and how big the map is in terms of like what other countries and land and places there are in this universe and what's going on in them. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of interesting shit that's going down, in different parts. So you've got like a Shy, which is like a southernmost, like aspect or part of their map, where that's where all of like the dark magic, and like all of the almost, I guess, mystical and like occult type activity and whatnot comes from.
Yeah, a lot of blood.
Like, yes, blood magic.
I want to see more of that. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's like, I mean, there are places on that Game of Thrones map in this universe where, like again, with a Shy, they're dangerous. Like, you don't want to go there. You know what I mean? Like a smart person doesn't go there. Like, if you're to be like a logical person would never show up there as a an immigrant or whatever and be like, hey, what's up? Because like, you'll end up dead. This is a dangerous time period. But basically, I feel like as we get to the end of the episode, we do actually get the seeds of like the actual conflict, right? When Viserys declares that he's going to marry Alicent Hightower. Now, as we already know from episode 1 and parts of episode 2, Alicent Hightower and Rhaenyra are like best friends. And if anything, especially knowing this time period and how women are at that age, or girls are at that age, it would not surprise me if Alicent and Rhaenyra maybe have had a little, vagina against vagina action going on, like, whatever, rubbing some stashes type stuff going on, it wouldn't surprise me if they have a little bit of that going on. Why not, right? And that's okay. We're all about that here at the Bleeding Edge. We're all about equality. So, and aspiration. And so, it's very healthy. But either way, we get the first seeds of the conflict, when you see obviously that Rhaenyra is not happy that Viserys is going to marry Alicent Hightower. She's not pleased with that at all. And of course, also we see that essentially Otto Hightower, Alicent's father, is like pushing it. He's like asking her, "You're going to see him, right? Tonight, you're going to see him, right?" Like he's strategically pushing her in that direction. Going back, Renee, you know, about,
started early.
Yeah. He's trying to set this whole thing up the whole time.
Right.
You know, and so the whole, what is it, the blacks and the oranges, or what is the war? What is
the blacks and the greens?
The whole blacks and the greens conflict starts right there, basically at the end of episode 2, when we start to see that division and that conflict begin between Alicent and Rhaenyra, who of course mother just died a year ago, and now her best friend that's like 23 years old or whatever, or 25, is going to marry her father. You know, beyond that, we also find out or get like, you know, official news that essentially Daemon is going to team up with Corlys Velaryon, the African American, you know, Sea Lord gentleman that is like basically Viserys' best friend or whatever on the council. They're going to team up. And they're going to go fight the Dornish or whatever, you know, pirates or whatever and whatnot. You know, the triad or whatever, the pirates. And what's going to be called and lead into the triarchy,
right?
And what's going to then lead to the war for the Stepstones. You know, so there you go, Renee. We're going to get battles. We're going to get fighting. There's going to be a war coming up.
Okay.
Essentially the War of the Stepstones lasts from 106 to 115 AC, so almost 10 years long. The war is, and yes, and essentially, basically, as we saw in episode 1, the Triarchy, right, coming off of Dorne, being backed by Dorne, is disrupting the shipping lanes, you know that they rely on, you know, at Westeros and whatnot and everything. At that point, we do have our first real conflict coming up. And what does that tell you right there about Daemon, right? That if he doesn't care about the series or the kingdom and whatnot and everything, why would he be joining forces with Corlys? You know, to fight this enemy, I guess, of the state almost. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I think, I mean, their sort of partnership is actually, I think it's really, really important for like down the line, because in the Dance of Dragons, now that they're both kind of their own like superpower, where they've got Daemon and Corlys and his ships and his dragons, whoever their side of this whole conflict that they're going to take is going to be vastly strengthened by their fleet and the dragons.
That's true. Yes. And essentially with Daemon, you can't really tell whether he just loves war. I mean, he is he's known as like a great warrior.
Yeah.
He's very effective in combat.
George R.R. Martin was saying that he's supposedly known in Westeros as the most dangerous man in Westeros.
Yes. He knows how to lead an army. He's very strategic. He knows how battles work. But so Renee, you tell me, this conflict that we see the seeds, you know, dropped at the end of the episode between Rhaenyra and Alicent Hightower now marrying Viserys, right? Which I got to be honest with you, even like if you look at things today in our society, a 25-year-old girl marrying a 36-year-old man is not a big deal, personally, to me. I don't think anything of it, but so
my grandmother, my mother's mother, her second husband was 15 years younger than her.
Sure. So now, of course, overall, what's so funny?
The silence.
Oh,
the little pause after I said that.
Oh,
Yeah, when
okay.
it's the other way around.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm
Alrighty
sorry.
then.
No. So,
Alrighty then.
now taking into consideration that we basically already know that the two principal factors or the main individual characters that are going to become the center figures of this conflict down the road are going to be Rhaenyra and Alicent Hightower.
Right, right.
As we span across the decades of this, the way this story is going to play out, right? They're going to be the central figures jockeying for position. Did you feel like you understood or grasped or that you felt like they did a good job portraying the seeds of this conflict beginning at the end of the episode?
Yeah, because I mean, you see it setting up Lord Corlys and the Pirate King or whatever he is, the seafaring king, or actually no, I don't think he's a king. I think he's wanting to be the king also, or something, whatever. But whoever he's, but he's married into the family. He's married to the king's cousin, so he's part of the family. Somehow there's a dynamic going on there.
Oh, Corlys, yeah.
Yeah, and so he so he's teaming up with Damien to, so okay, let's figure out how we can get rid of this whole mess. Get rid of him, get rid of the kid, get rid of, and then but then the king, he makes the decision that he's going to marry Lady Alicent, and which he likes her. I don't think they've had a sexual relationship up to this point. I mean, it's I think it was sort of implied, but I got the impression that he was still in mourning, that this was just, he misses his wife too much, that he would be, but even so, he likes her. She comforts him. They talk together. He showed her the his model for the city, and then of course there was that very poignant scene where there's the little dragon figurine that I'm assuming I think that was his dragon. It was
the one he dropped earlier.
Yeah, and he drops it and breaks the wing off of it, and then later on she has it mended and brings it back, and that just touches him so much.
Yeah,
and
almost
so
like
I
that
think
was
there's
the part
a genuine.
that made it, almost like that was the part that made his decision for him, was
Right.
how touched he was by that gesture.
So there's a genuine love I think he has for this young woman, and she's probably right around 16 or something like that, 16 or 17. So yeah, I mean, I think it's for him. It was probably a good choice for him personally, because I think she can fill that void that his beloved wife and his baby, his infant, unborn child left in his heart. That really,
right. And she's got some freak in her too. You can tell she wants some dick.
Anyway, getting back to the subject. And then of course, Princess Rhaenyra, she's just she's willing. Okay, she'll if he marries that little 12-year-old kid, she'll deal with it. But then when he flips the table and there's her best friend. Right. And who she's grown up with and everything, and thinks of as a sister.
I love that. I love adding the sister part to it. I do.
Well, yeah, Jeff. I mean, anyway. I know it's HBO, but you're making me want to watch this rest of the series less and less. I can tell you that right now. It's really getting kind of distasteful here in spots. But anyway. Moving on. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I like how that's going to play out. I mean, I think definitely it's going to be the rivalry that's going to become these two women who were very, very close as young women and as children are now going to become, bitter enemies. So yeah, that's and what that's going to do to each other, and how ruthless is because she's going to want to be the queen or the king. She doesn't want her half brother or little half brother that's coming down the road. She don't want any of them to have it. So her own ambitions, I think, are going to start. She's not a a little snow angel. She's going to have some. I think she's going to be pretty nasty down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got some chutzpah. She does. She's got a little chutzpah going, you know. And I think you probably get that, right? When you're the daughter, the princess of the king that sits on the Iron Throne. You're gonna have a little bit of a, you know, that kind of streak going. You know what I mean? But William, what do you think, man? I mean, again, I know you're new to this universe, this lore.
Yes, brand new.
Let me play this teaser trailer for episode 3.
Okay.
The road ahead is uncertain, but the end is clear. Aegon will be king. He's the firstborn son of the king.
You will be with your own child sooner than late.
I do not wish to get married.
Even I do not exist above tradition and duty, Rhaenyra.
None of it needs be this way in truth. No one's here for me.
The Crab Feeders dug in for siege on Bloodstone while his men sabotage our fleet. The matter of the Stepstones is regrettably urgent.
Crabs will soon dine on all of us. We are losing.
Dragon!
There you go, Renee. It's coming. It's coming.
Dragons.
Getting dragons
in action.
If I can't have spaceships, I'll take dragons.
Dragons
there
in
you
action,
go.
boy.
There you go. So, William, based on coming off that, you know, as we talked about, you know, wrapping up episode 2, heading into the fact that we know we got a conflict coming up, right? Our first real, you know, war / battle / you know, Game of Thrones. I'll tell you right now, man. If you think that like the shit you saw in episode 1 was pretty intense, just wait till we get some real battle scenes and like some real dragon on killing people action. It's gonna get intense.
Well, you can't get
HBO
more intense than when you saw in episode 1 when the night crew went out there chopping off people's hands and chopping off people's heads. You don't get no more intense than that. I mean, those men knew something was gonna happen. They knew something. You saw them struggling. So but I can't wait for it. It comes on what 99, so I'm ready.
Yeah, actually, yes, you're right. It comes on just in a little
William,
bit.
Yep.
Does this conflict, you know, based around Rhaenyra and Alicent Hightower becoming Viserys' wife, giving him sons, giving him heirs, right? Which then will directly over years lead to a more intense conflict where there will be a sort of Game of Thrones style, you know, challenge or fight for the Iron Throne. Okay, like overall, you know, does that appeal to you?
Yes.
That sort of conflict based off that.
Yes, but I don't think we get another really get into it until we get another male heir. I think that's when you really see the real conflict go down for the Iron Throne, is when you have a male heir move into it. Because the female heir, I get it, I understand it, because the daughter was deserving of it, in my opinion, but she's not respected as she should be.
He broke tradition. He broke law. The tradition of this time period is that a male heir automatically succeeds the throne.
Right. But I think that's when the real conflict, when a male heir becomes of age and able to take over the throne, that's when I think the real conflict will start. Because I don't think anyone takes this basically little kid. Yeah, she's a princess, but I don't think anyone really takes her seriously or thinks much of her as of now.
Well, why would they? She's not physically imposing. I mean, other than the fact that she rides a dragon,
right?
You know.
That's why I say I don't think we really get to the real, even when she gets older and more in tune with what being a queen is, or we get a male heir who automatically gets that sort of level of respect, and I think that's when the real conflict will start.
You're right, and I think that as of right now, where we're seeing, there is a sense of peace still overall in the kingdom. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the things haven't gotten to a point yet where things are dire and like people
Yeah,
are
it's
being killed.
sort of a calm before the storm type
Right.
period right
But
now.
and even with that, they brought that up too in the show that you don't wait for conflict to arrive. You don't wait for the storm to
Yeah, you
get to
got to
you.
take
You
it head
handle
on.
it before. Yeah.
You make it happen. They make it happen. They can't. These warrior kingdom type people. They live for war. I mean, that's how they. That's how they make their. That's what they do. I mean, what else is the second son going to do if he doesn't? If he doesn't have a kingdom, but he feels like he deserves the king. Deserves one of his own. If he can't go out and conquer one, then he's going to take the one that he's already in. So yeah, I mean that's played out throughout history over and over and over and over again.
But I know, but Corlys' advice to Viserys and whatnot and everything to try to be more aggressive and that like this needs to be dealt with and everything and whatnot is the right advice. He's on top. He knows what he's talking about. He's saying, like, we got to go ahead and get after this shit and quash it now.
Right. Yeah, I mean there has to be a conflict in story, and of course the House of the Dragon, winning the House of Dragon is the conflict that's going to play out.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the longer that you let a conflict fester, the larger scale it ends up being when you finally do go to war. Right?
Yeah.
The more time
a lot more resentments and everything build up. A lot of and a lot of things, and a lot of disconnects and misinformation and non-communication, and everything breaks down, and then society itself begins to falter, and then chaos ensues, and out of chaos comes order, and that's what the warriors want to think that they're going to bring. That okay, we're going to war, and then at the end of the war, it's all going to be peace, love, and happiness, and of course that lasts for about a generation or so, and then it starts up again. Yeah. I think the whole George R.R. Martin based at least this part on the actual War of the Roses in British history, which was between the House of Lancaster and the House of York, and they each believed that they had equal right to the king to the throne in England. And then they fought wars, and House of Lancaster would be on the throne. Then they'd fight some more wars, and then House of York, and then finally they got together and they formed up a coalition and made the House of Tudor, and that was for the Henry VIII and Queen Elizabeth, and of course they were extremely strong, ruthless, powerful monarchs. I mean, right up, she was just probably of all the monarchs, British monarchs, you'd have to say Queen Elizabeth was probably the number one monarch as far as her role in world history and impact on history. Very much I think this is sort of mirroring that historical timeline. So in a sense, you can see the same dynamic between, say, a young Elizabeth and Henry VIII, and how he sees this intelligent, beautiful, wonderful daughter who's got a mind like a steel trap, but she's a woman, and they have to have male heirs. So his whole conflict of going out and finding these divorcing, it causing this huge conflict between Spain and Great Britain when he divorces his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, to marry Anne Boleyn, and then Anne Boleyn, whatever the whole, he winds up chopping her head off, and that whole sort of dynamic that's for real. I mean, that was for real. I mean, they make that story over and over and over again on TV and in movies and whatnot. That's probably what we're looking at, just a reformation of that those historical events. But they're doing it in a clever way and in a fun way, and bringing in dragons and magic and all that, and renaming everybody, giving everybody weird spellings to names that, why do they have to put all these H's and Y's and everything? Just spell it phonetically, But anyway, that's part of the whole, like what they use, sir. Because I'm using closed captioning on it, because if I didn't, it would just be right. So with the closed captioning, the sir is not S-I-R. They write it S-E-R. Like, why? Why would you do? Just spell it as it's sir. You're pronouncing it the same way. It's the same type of deal. It's a knighthood.
Bobby,
Yeah.
let me ask you, Bobby.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get into that.
No, you're okay, Renee. You're okay. Let's close things out and just really, Bobby, give us your, your theories and your thoughts on what we're going to get potentially out of episode 3.
Out of episode 3, well, I'm from the trailer. I guess we're going to get like at least the first part of the War of the Stepstones, which I'm really looking forward to. Just because it'll be the first full-scale conflict that we'll see in the show. And they usually, like, if they handle them any way they did it in Game of Thrones, it's going to be epic as hell. Because their grand fights like that are always epic. Those are probably some of my favorite episodes, is when they have, like, the big grand-scale fights like that. I'm just looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to, I guess they're going to show the birth of Aegon II, which is Viserys' first son. I believe he appeared on the trailer, and once he comes of age, that's when the real conflict is going to start. So we're still seeing sort of like the falling pieces right now, but I'm just looking forward to that. Like, I can't wait to see like the actual conflict get into full gear, and see the kids born in this new episode. I think we're really gonna start gearing up towards that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's very accurate. I think we're going to see the first birth of Alicent Hightower's first son. So there's going to be our first male heir that's going to come out of that episode, which is going to then solidify the conflict even more, right? And raise Alicent Hightower's position higher, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now at that point, Renee, am I to understand that the stuff in this series that you actually are looking forward to and want to see is the shit that you don't like to begin with, like the battles and the conflict, the actual wars, and that's what you want to see?
I never said I didn't like battles. I love battles.
Oh, you like battles?
No. See, you're misquoting me. I don't like gratuitous violence when it's not necessary. For instance, if this was being made by Marvel, I would be shocked and upset and alarmed. But no, this is HBO and this is R.R. Martin, George R.R. Martin. So it's you're going to have a heck of a lot more gross and I think unnecessary scenes. But that's just me. I'm not objecting to it being actually shown. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the battles and the action. I mean, if you don't have some action, guys, and we'll I think we can all agree this episode was fairly action free.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as getting into battles and getting in, I want to see more tourneys and people, dragon fire and things like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, most definitely. And I'll tell you, the battles, the epic battles and the wars and everything and all that, whatnot, the killing. I mean, that's what solidifies and adds to the emotional and the dramatic.
Well, I mean, that's history. That's history. I mean, we're not. I can't object to the reality of violence within our own history. I mean, absolutely, it's been I mean, compared to what they're showing on. I mean, that's cookies and milk that we're looking at on HBO. Just very, very as nasty and horrific as they can make it. That ain't even a drop in the bucket. So so you want to do get in some real deep dive violence. Just read some history.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, and that's one thing about HBO. I think they do a good job of reflecting an authentic, look. Or
right. I mean, it's their creative right to do so.
Yeah. William, what are your thoughts on episode 3? What do you look? Are you looking forward to like seeing some action, like Renee's talking about? You want to see some battles? Like, I mean, are you enjoying the drama?
I want to see battles and I want to see more dragons. That's what I want to see. Battles and dragons.
Battles and dragons.
Let's get some action going on. I mean, don't get me wrong, the drama is cool and everything, but if you can get 60% action and 40% drama, you in there for the win. So let's get some more action. Let's get this thing pumped up. Let's go, because now everybody's gonna.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
because not everybody's gonna understand story or whatnot. Yeah, not everybody's gonna understand for it.
And more
No,
and
there's
more
nothing
and
else,
more
right?
nude Matt Smith.
Yes, we need nudity in general, whether it's male nudity
More
or female
nudity.
nudity. More of it.
Make
Yes,
love, not war.
I agree with that 100%. We need some epic battles, and then we also need some epic penis, full penis shots, and sex scenes and whatnot and everything. All right, last question. I know this is only episode 2, but give me your best rating for the episode overall. All right, give me a 1 through 10. Worst to best. Starting with you, Bobby. What's your rating for episode 2?
I would give this one probably a solid 7, just because there wasn't a lot of action in it. I'll agree with that. Some of the political intrigue and the in moving and the chess pieces moving on the board kind of interested me, but I'd give it a solid 7.
Okay, William, what do you got, brother? Give me a number.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6. It was some action, a little bit of action in there in the middle, but it wasn't full scale or really drawn out. So I'll give it a 6.
Okay, Renee.
I'm gonna fall right in the middle and say 6.5. Yeah, I agree with everything. I mean, it was just no action. I mean, there was supposed to be, the series was supposed, or the episode was, I thought was supposed to be about, Prince Damon, more about him, and he was more of a side character, I think. So, hopefully that'll pick up in episode 3, though. I'm anticipating that it will, and I'm going to probably look at it in a little bit just to make sure.
I don't blame you. I might do the same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to go right around, I'll say 6.57 for this one. I'd say episode 1, if I had to throw it out there, probably a 7.5, a little bit better maybe. But we'll see what happens with episode 3. Either way, folks, over here at the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast, this is the end of our episode 2, The House of the Dragons, HBO produced Game of Thrones prequel series. And this is our review, our breakdown. I'm here with Renee, Loki's mom, from the Podcast of Champions, Sakar.freeforums.net, a frequent and regular contributor and guest on the MCU's Bleeding Edge. William Morgan, the creator and host of the Geek Gauntlet podcast that you can find on Twitch. Like I did last night, I just was very quiet and didn't say anything in the comment section, but I was there during the show at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Every Saturday night, he's there with the team. And Bobby, thank you very much, brother.
Thank you.
Our third guest appearance, our third recording together in a week and a half.
Always happy to be here.
And you're getting better and better, brother. It's on you if you want to decide to go with that whole, concept of evolving your guesting over time. It's up to you, brother.
Okay. All right.
You want to make things interesting? Well, go with it. But folks, look, we really appreciate you. I'm not a big plugger, so all I'll just say is that we appreciate all of you especially all of you that catch us on the ladder run when you actually watch this on YouTube as a real video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel so Cybernetic Shark and I can actually hit 3,000 subs. We'd like that. That'd be positive. And, besides that, I think it'll actually help us make more money from YouTube. So maybe we can actually, cash in with our big first check from YouTube monetization. Maybe it'll be like $1.13 or something. It'll be great. I can buy a candy bar. But anyways, folks, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, to do episode 3 of The House of the Dragon, review and breakdown. Peace. We out.
Hey, guys.
Good night.
Gotta get a House of Dragon intro and outro.
I'm a bad bitch every day of the week. If I hop play it on repeat. Cash 100 milli check, I get paid just to breathe. Kill it 24/7 cause I slay in my sleep. Flames pipe